Right now, let's turn our attention to what is going on in Nottingham. Now, reports emerged in the last hour or so that there was a major ongoing police incident in Nottingham. It involved the tram line being closed and indeed buses and roads closed. A huge number of roads closed in central Nottingham. Huge numbers of police and other emergency services on the scene. Now, much of that has been an ongoing incident for some hours, since about 6 or 7 this morning. Now, the police have said only this is an ongoing serious incident. They described it as a major incident. There are police on the scene, as I say, counter-terrorism police. We've seen emergency workers in those chemical hazmat suits. We understand the army also deployed. A huge number of streets emptied. You'll be able to see footage on your talkTV screen right now. Let's talk to Will Gillis. He's a security expert and joins us now. Good morning to you, Will.
Morning, Julia.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Now, look, there are reports that are unconfirmed reports of an incident that is involved, as we have been told by a number of emergency workers, but unconfirmed reports, that an incident involved a number of people being killed, a number of people being injured, and that I understand also there is a major manhunt underway, which is why to a certain extent there is a news blackout on this. The police say there will be more information to follow, other than that they are dealing with an ongoing serious incident and advising people to avoid these roads because they are closed and will be closed for some time. Tell us why police, who've been on the scene for many hours, why police and emergency services would be imposing a news blackout to all intents and purposes. What would be the reasons behind that?
Well, there's a couple of different reasons for it, Julia. I mean, certainly in the first instances, as we know, anybody who's monitoring or looking up any kind of updates on social media will know that there is various different reports coming through. Some are eyewitness reports, some are obviously from accredited journalists and news agencies. But one of the biggest problems always in the first instances is to try and control the dialogue, control the information that is getting out. And the authorities will be very cautious to make sure that they're not creating undue concern to the general public unless they feel it's necessary to do so and for them to be cautious. I mean, the first things I saw, Julia, on this, the first indications of such a large cordon being put into effect, multi-agency response, but also a shutdown, a blackout, as you say, of any information to the media, said to me immediately this was a terrorism-related incident. But at the moment, certainly, any of the information about casualties, possible fatalities, what I would say is from the military also being deployed, and that could obviously involve various sort of bomb disposal units, possibly, again, that's speculation on my part, is they're still trying to assess exactly what is going on here. And they've stretched that cordon out as wide as possible, diverted trams and buses, as you say, to make sure members of the general public don't unknowingly wander into, obviously, a potential crime scene.
Well, indeed. And again, there are many different reports, many different eyewitness accounts that are actually quite contradictory. So making it very difficult for us to know for certain what has been going on. It sounds like a very complicated scene. But I think one thing we are pretty sure of is that there have been fatalities. There have been people who have been seriously injured. There is a suspect. We suggest there is a manhunt underway, and a suspect is currently being searched for in this area. It may well be that they have already been caught by police. I mean, there are just so many different reports. The key thing here, it's a very confused account. A lot of people will be affected. You won't be able to get to work, won't be able to get to their homes, trapped in their homes as well. And this incident will take a very long time to resolve, because these sort of major events will involve police for many hours, possibly, who knows, depending on the event, many days ahead.
Absolutely. And I mean, in terms of the depth, or if you like, the width and the extent of the cordon that's been set out, because there is a manhunt potentially underway, again, depending on the resources and how quickly they could be mobilized, that could be also utilized possibly as a net. And that being a net to capture that suspect who may still be within the scene of the specific incident itself. So the authorities are going to want to filter who is already within the cordon, make sure those that are innocent can be obviously removed or certainly extracted from that cordoned area, but also to make sure members of the general public can't come in. Now, that processing is really, really key to ensure that anybody within the scene of the incident can be duly processed to make sure they weren't connected in some shape or form. But we've also got to consider we're substantial in terms of a UK threat level, which means that a terrorism attack is likely. And there are a number of cases that are still being thwarted by the security services and counter-terrorism police. But there is always and has always been a chance that we were going to see something. So this doesn't come, sadly, as a great surprise.
And that's the thing, and we've seen these incidents across France, and everyone's sort of very jittery, you know, which we're told, you know, aren't terrorism incidents, you know, children being killed in a playground and other incidents, and everyone does get extra jittery. And as you say, it's an important reminder that we are still at this higher terror status, and that's something perhaps we kind of forget. We go about our normal daily grind and, you know, annoyed that, say, you know, Extinction Rebellion or, I don't know, Just Stop Oil are on the streets, and forget that actually our security services, our police, are day-to-day dealing with a very high security level, security threat level, and as we know, normally we don't actually hear about most of the threats.
No, absolutely. And I mean, and that's what makes the Extinction Rebellion and the Just Stop Oil protests even more frustrating, particularly in wake of the fact that it's cost the Metropolitan Police in London alone £4.5 million to deal with them quite recently. So, you know, that is police resource, that's taxpayer money that's being diverted, you know, from these kinds of risks that we're seeing potentially in Nottingham, the threats that we will continue to prevail that we've got to counter. Now, in terms of obviously the authorities, this instance, certainly from what you've been saying, Julia, in terms of those that have been identified within the multi-agencies that have attended, would say to me that this is a quite significant event, over and beyond the fact that there are alleged, you know, fatalities. The fact that there are biohazard suits being worn by certain officers would say to me that this is a fairly complex possible attack, certainly involved possibly an IED, an improvised explosive device, the component parts and the ultimate result of what they were looking to achieve. Again, we have yet to determine.
Indeed, again, we have no idea yet whether it is a terrorist incident or not. We're going to get the information to our audience. The moment we get anything confirmed, we will bring it to you here first. We'll get us an international security expert. Thank you very much indeed.